From the brand that has crafted the most glittering residential addresses around the world, the iconic World Towers are the perfect unity of luxury and trust that forge the values of family for the personalities that call it home. Hi, I'm Sumit Lakhotia, and this week on Life in the Skies at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now, I'm in conversation with the young business maverick Bhavik Chinai, whose journey is nothing short of inspiring. An entrepreneur at heart, Bhavik Chinai, at a ripe young age, achieved unimaginable heights of success. A third-generation entrepreneur, this young man has redefined the way a traditionally run family business thrives in India. Hi Bhavik, pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Let's start with your journey from the very early days. You're part of a family business. So one thing I know about family business is that the family is involved. It's a 24-hour training and it's an early training. But before we get to that, tell me about schooling. What were school days like? What was Bhavik like in school?
Oh well, so school for me was primarily going to school and then going to office after that. So
exactly the point I said. Really, the training starts early. Yeah.
Right. So for us, there was no one at home. My mom also works, dad as well. So all in the same business, right. Different offices back then. So my mom would pick me up from school and then we would go to office together.
Nice.
And practically I've grown up in office since I was age 5.
Wow.
So a lot of work experience, if we may call it.
So is that where you think that somewhere those were the early days where kind of the entrepreneurial bug set in, the idea to run a business as opposed to work in somebody else's business?
Possible. I'm not sure of what the trigger was, but I know that post age 17 is when something clicked, which was between 12th and graduation starting. And there was this extreme hunger to want to make money. So that's broadly where the startups started and the journey probably started. But I think the seed definitely for us was as a family. We grew up talking about work and I was at work practically. So
which was the first business you started? It was an ed tech, I think, right?
Yeah, so the first business was back, I think I was 16
right.
when there was an education tech venture that we started. That was primarily to provide notes to students across the world on any subject.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was the concept back then. Did a bunch of other interesting things. And of course, joined family relatively early, against their will.
Against their will? Why was that?
Well, so my family thought that I'll drop out once I experience money.
Okay.
And they didn't want me to join business at all, but I had to force my way in. Right. And I'm delighted that I was given the free hand after joining, and it's not like a typical family business where the previous gen wants to control. So very, very fortunate for that.
What were like some maybe early lessons that you might have learned from your parents who both were working in the family group?
I think from parents, the most important lesson I think is definitely to work very hard. And it just came with how all of us were and still are. So we really go for it in terms of working, and we would work 18-hour days, non-stop pretty much. So, and it's all because we enjoy it. So that has always been great. But otherwise, I think for me, a lot of early mentors, Ratan Tata, Jack Welch, everyone who basically I looked up to. I would consume every content piece that I could find my hands on, and figure out how they did it. Because on one side I see my father, who practically would feel nervous about missing office one day. And then I see Ratan Tata handling 200 businesses and still not getting involved, and each company growing. So that was for me, for example, a big lesson of how can I, not have to be nervous about missing a working day. It was great.
What happened next after the ed tech? Just take me through that journey. What on the business front?
So
what
this is
next?
Early college, and after that there were many other things which were continuously going on. But I joined our business early on, and in the middle I wanted to experience a lot of other industries which I felt would help us in our journey.
Right.
And I almost paid for an internship to be an intern at a venture capital firm.
Okay.
And similar with other logistics businesses. And it was all hands down, just ground up, be on the floor and figure things out from scratch. So that was wonderful. And with that experience, I joined full time 1 year before college ended. And then it's just been wonderful. Absolute freedom from the family to run the business as we like. And that has helped a lot. Probably just from the journey standpoint, it started with BVC early on at age 19. And that's after that, the expansion within the country started. I was all over the country, every state in the country, opening branches, doing the research, selecting branch managers, identifying the correct locations, all types of things across. It was quite a journey. We also had a joint venture with Brinks, and that was a beautiful experience to see how a company in 130 countries operates. And along with that, of course, Vamaship is another venture that we started to digitize logistics. And that was a wonderful experience. Here's one thing that a family business doesn't offer, which is the 0 to 1 journey.
Okay.
So each business would have 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100. A 0 to 1 in family businesses is already experienced by someone. And you're doing a 1 to 10 or 10 to 100 depending on where you're born. But the 0 to 1 journey in Vamaship was extraordinary. And of course, it's growing and it's a phenomenal business. Those have broadly been the exposure points so far, and so many more in the pipeline.
If I had to ask you to pick one business as your favorite, which one would that be?
Fathers say that that's like picking among the favorite child, right?
Yeah.
So I can't do that, but one for sure, which I think has produced the most learning for me, is Vamaship. Okay. The 0 to 1 journey is unparalleled.
For a startup who's starting from scratch, you've been through the pains already, as opposed to somebody who's in the family business, who's like, one level of problem, pain is already solved, and therefore that person has it maybe a little easier than the person who's doing a startup. Do you get that kind of, do people sometimes tell you that okay, you're in a family business, it must be a little easier than somebody else who's just starting a startup? What's your thoughts? How easy or tough has it been in the family business?
So the only thing that's different in a business, depending on the stage, is the nature of challenges, right? For me, Vamaship was about getting the product in place, making sure customers like it, making sure the team is great and motivated to perform better. Very different type of challenges. In our family business, the type of challenges which I was experiencing was very different. Fortunately, one challenge, which is controlled by the previous gen, was non-existent for me. That's really important. But I was 21, going around the country asking people to ship with us. I was opening branches. I was hiring branch managers who are 45, 50 years old. So there's a big challenge of age-based merit that culturally is an expectation. And when someone sees a 21-year-old who's now basically running the show, it's not easy for the current gen to be okay with, which is all the new people. One other challenge in any family business that I've experienced is growing like a startup. So a business is growing at its consistent 10, 15, 20% a year. And when you join a business, you want to grow 100%. That you can't think below that. Yeah. And to get the team geared to that type of a mindset takes a while.
I can imagine. Bhavik, every journey, every business person's journey has some kind of anecdotes, and there are many highs, but there are many lows also. So maybe if you want to share some important moments, important key learning points from both the family business and also at Vamaship.
So I think one of the biggest lessons for us, most expensive lesson I call it, has been the failure of our division that we started, which was in general cargo freight forwarding. We entered in 2014 when it practically became the worst phase of shipping industry's century. Wow. So in 100 years, you could ship a container from Mumbai to Dubai for $1. And it was just extremely not lucrative as a division to be in. But because the market size is very large, we assumed we're going to figure it out. So one of the key lessons that we learned is that market forces, in terms of tailwinds versus headwinds and so on, makes a very big difference. I think one of the things that all of us as founders keep discussing is how startup life is very glamorous. And you're winning awards, you're getting press mentions, you're getting tagged by people you want attention of. It is so easy to get diverged and lose your focus from what matters for your customer and the business. So all the metrics related to fundraising, all the metrics related to just PR metrics is what we call it. It's so easy and so glamorous and attractive that you would want to keep optimizing for them. And so important to step back and think that those are not really what's going to make a difference. And so many startups have failed because of just the lack of that focus, of not pulling out and looking back.
So to be aware of the life behind the glamour.
Absolutely, and reflect.
Reflect. Right.
Take your thinking weeks, take your breaks, and unless the CEO doesn't work 18 hours a day, the business is not going to become very large.
Let's talk now about the venture capital business. So is there any sectors that are your favorite that you look out more towards for investing?
So we operate as angel investors, and we angel invest in startups at the first stage. And for us, the primary interest is anything that digitizes something offline.
Oh, right.
And that can be sector agnostic. So we have panwalas who now have a storefront, right? And we have companies which have never had an HR software, having HR softwares. We've invested in an enterprise which enables NGOs to raise much higher donations through crowdfunding. So
Lovely.
All very different types of ventures which truly make a difference and can digitize something that's offline.
On the journey, and I know there's a long journey still to go, but the journey till now, maybe one or two big lessons, one or two mantras that Bhavik uses.
That's going to be tough to narrow down, but one of it that I follow as a principle, a value for us, is inclusive growth. So it's extremely important to grow everyone along with us.
Yeah.
Our mission is to set global benchmarks in stakeholder satisfaction, and that's really deeply thought through before it becoming the reality. So we really focus very high on making sure every stakeholder who's around us is getting uplifted because of our presence, and that's one mantra that I strongly follow. Many more, to be honest, but let's say trusting people, focusing on the process, not accepting no as an answer. You can go on.
What would you call your leadership style?
I think for me, like I mentioned early on, my let's say North Star was Ratan Tata,
Right.
who definitely is running a conglomerate, and we were just a one business doing only customs brokerage. From there, we've become a conglomerate in the last 7 years. So it is that journey, and that cannot have me being involved in one division or one company. So it is more delegation and trusting.
Great. Bhavik, what's on your plate for the way ahead?
Several new businesses which are coming for sure. That bug is something that's never going to die. But in our logistics business, it's our journey to the IPO.
Okay.
So we've been privately held, only family, and we've been a small enterprise. Now we've become medium, now working to make it large, and then the IPO. So is that journey. Vision 2022 is what we call it, and to make that happen.
Well, Bhavik, there's a lot more that I want to talk to you about that, but it's time for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Life in the Skies at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now. On the other side of the break, we find out more about Bhavik's personal life here at the iconic World Towers. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Life in the Skies at the World Towers, partnered by ET Now, and my conversation with Bhavik Chinai continues. Bhavik, now let's talk about your life here at the iconic World Towers. I know you recently moved in here, but what were some of the reasons that you decided to shift here?
For me, I had come here back then in 2013, and that's when there was no World Towers. It was all getting made, and they had the show flat. And honestly, I remember telling my parents that, this is home.
Wow.
And anyway, 7 years later, was getting married, wanted to move out since a long time. So pulled the trigger, and we're here. So it's unusually very similar what I saw 7 years ago versus what I see now. So beautiful to be here.
You recently got married, but you actually met your wife for the first time in this property itself.
Second time, right. So
Okay.
a very close friend of mine lives right here.
Uh-huh.
And so we had met in October and we reconnected when Saket, my friend, invited Disha
Okay.
and a bunch of us on the Christmas Eve celebration. And Disha and I just hit it off, and here we are.
Everybody at home has a special corner. So which would that be for you?
So I spend most of my time in my office. I mean, we made our
Yeah.
offices in the house, and that's perpetually when I'm there. But otherwise, both Disha and I really, really enjoy the jacuzzi that they have, and it's really relaxing. It's private, so it feels great.
Fantastic. And of course, I know you live on one of the higher floors, so of course the view out there from the deck must be pretty awesome.
Oh, it is. It feels like all the buildings that we're looking at, and we've been at a Silo and Air and all the places we've all been at, and that looks pretty tiny, and it's nice and very windy and chilly, so we really enjoy it.
One thing that's happened now, Bhavik, with this lockdown and the work from home is that everybody has kind of realized the importance of a home. Your thoughts on that? How have you kind of moved from office, moving into the home, and adjusted to this new way of life?
For me, fortunately, I've always had an office in the house since years. But the office here is close to my heart because I've made a library in the house.
Oh, lovely.
And I'm really fond of reading.
Work is 24/7, but there's got to be some time where Bhavik is having his downtime and he's somewhere relaxing. So what do you do then? What's your downtime like? What's your me time like?
Primarily, it's reading.
Yeah.
I enjoy reading a lot, and I enjoy driving. So I would just take off and do possibly 2-3 hour drives within Bombay, post 11, of course.
Yeah. So otherwise, it's just you've gone 1 kilometer in 2-3 hours thanks to the traffic. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I really enjoy driving, and also just enjoying the view, having deep conversations. It's nice here because with everyone who you meet, because of the view and the wind, for some reason the conversations just become deeper, and it's nice. So very, very good to do that as frequently as possible.
Lovely. Now, I know one of the main advantages of living here at the iconic World Towers are the amenities. And again, I know on the other side is because of the lockdown, you've not had a chance to experience some of them. But what would you say would be some of the amenities that would be your favorite, or some that you kind of definitely were excited to see that they were here, which was partly some of the reasons that you came to live here?
So I think the spa is definitely one that's currently shut, unfortunately, but everyone has been so excited about it. So we're very excited for that to reopen. The walking track is one that I find very, very nice. It's big. It's great for morning walks and evening, and also waiting for the big pool to restart. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're a soccer fan. I believe you play it, and you play a lot of sports. So is that something that you foresee yourself doing, like maybe not daily but very often here?
Oh, pretty much, right. So it feels like I should take a sabbatical now, just to enjoy all the sports here.
Yeah.
And so all the sports that I enjoy, there is some infrastructure around to facilitate it. A lot of people also are very health oriented post lockdown, post COVID. So it's beautiful to now have enough people to play with, whether it's basketball or squash or anything else.
Bhavik, I also know that you're well traveled. So that is also traveling is something that's also close to your heart, and somebody who's seen some of the world icons like the Burj Khalifa, the Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower, Petronas Towers. Your thoughts on actually living in India's icon to the world, which is the World Towers?
It feels amazing. I think the people make a building just like the people make a home.
Yeah.
And we've had just beautiful interactions, and everyone's very warm and open, and unlike most of the buildings that I've lived in the past, this feels different, and it's great to be here.
There's one aspect of your life that people don't know of much, is the spiritual part. I know you lead now a minimalistic style of living. So tell us a little bit about that part. I mean, what set you down that path, how you've developed, how you've grown in that. Tell us about that.
So I'm not sure what sort of triggered it, but I had 4 days away in an ashram in December 17, and that just led to a series of questions which led to more questions. So a typical sort of what I call an early midlife crisis. So it was great, great experience, very transformative, and I am deeply spiritual now, and a view always helps. So it's lovely to meditate every morning and have great conversations around this particular topic of how we experience consciousness. So the realizations, one of them of course was that we're using stimulants to experience certain emotions, and I was extremely stimulant oriented, let's just say very shopping oriented, only the great brands and very typical, and I realized the difference between needs and wants. What I assumed our wants were artificial. For me, social anxiety, wanting to have your own status around you, those are the triggers to make those happen, and I was absolutely comfortable without. So I think I would have less than 100 commodities at this point, this being 3. So not much, and it's beautiful to not have to hoard commodities at all.
Bhavik, you're also the president of the BVC Foundation. So tell us a little bit about the social causes that are close to your heart, and what is the foundation doing in that space?
So the ones that are close to my heart is education and healthcare, and in the foundation we run few drives per year. One is donation to kids in orphanages and individuals in old age homes. Very fortunate to now have taken that, which started as a very humble initiative. Now we're making a difference to more than 50,000 kids in orphanages across the country. We have a tree plantation drive that we conduct each year, which now we started with 1,000 trees a year. Now we're going to cross 10,000 soon. And we have a blood donation drive, where we are very fortunate that individuals from more than 30 cities of the country, we have a blood donation week. In that 7-day period, thousands of people from across the country contribute their blood, and it's wonderful and very helpful. We have real life instances of people who know other people who sent a WhatsApp, and we could fortunately arrange a blood bank, and their lives were saved.
Wow.
So something as small as just a blood donation drive could make such a big difference. It's incredible.
So Bhavik, if you look back at life, is there anything that you would like to change from what you've experienced or what you've been through?
To be honest, if you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have a list. But I feel lucky to have experienced everything that I have. Lucky to be born in a family which is so open-minded and absolutely do-it-yourself type upbringing. And lucky to have experienced all that I have. So nothing really that I would want to change.
Bhavik, there are a lot of people who are watching this, and who would be some of the younger generation who are watching this and would look at you and say, okay, 28, you run so many businesses, you're angel investing now. Your, I don't know, some words of advice, guidance to them on maybe things that you have learned on this journey that you would like to share with people?
I don't advise, but...
Okay, imagine they were all founders of the companies that you've invested in, okay? What's the advice then?
Oh, celebrate everything, right? Celebrate successes, failures, every experience, and we tend to possibly run away from pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical, and if we get into a slightly more observation mode, it's absolutely possible to enjoy every experience, even pain. So just enjoy the journey.
Fantastic. Well, Bhavik, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best for the way ahead.
Thank you, and to you.
Life in the skies here at the iconic World Towers is a structural symbol of the success that we can achieve if we combine determination with hard work and perseverance, just as we've seen in Bhavik's inspiring success story. Well, that's all on this episode, but next week, same time, same place, we'll bring you another iconic success story from right here at the World Towers. Until then, goodbye and many thanks for watching.